Hey, welcome. It's nice to have you here. And today is part 3 of the series on joyfully manifesting money. It's the spiritual principles of inner and outer abundance and wealth. And if for those who are here live, you won't have this problem, but for those who are watching this on YouTube, if a person has leapt ahead and is watching this without leaving some time, preferably about a week between the previous videos in this series, please do yourself a favor and give yourself some time. Watch them in sequence and give yourself preferably about a week in between, because you'll get the best results that way. Because it's really not just about the information. It's really very little about the information. It's really about the experience. It has to be integrated. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is, as I say, it's the spiritual principles of inner and outer abundance and wealth. So it's really both, but you can't have actual true wealth unless you have the inner first. Because otherwise, and many people make this mistake, they might accumulate a tremendous amount of outer apparent wealth, a lot of stuff, a lot of money perhaps, but they're still living in poverty within. And I'm not saying that all people who have accumulated a lot on the outside are living within poverty, but it is a big mistake that people can make. And so I'm wanting to spare you from making that mistake, which is why I'm suggesting that you should focus on the inner first, because when you have the inner abundance and wealth, then you're in a very good position, not only to manifest the outer, but to actually appreciate it. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If not, then contemplate that deeply until it does make sense to you, because it will be enormously helpful to you to understand that and to put that into practice. So to that end, I want to, as we've done in each of the meetings in this series, I'm going to give you a guided practice that will help you to connect to your true inner abundance, because really that's the key. It's not just about having the information. You have to actually experience it, because that's where it's real. And so we'll do that momentarily. And in order to set yourself up for that in the best way, it would be ideal if you could be in a quiet place where you could close your eyes safely. So if you're driving a car, and I know some people do that, they listen to these while driving a car, then obviously it would not be wise for you to close your eyes while doing that. So probably then you would want to watch this later, so that you could participate in it. You could continue to engage now, but just don't close your eyes, and then come back and do this this guided practice when you can do it with closed eyes, because it will be more helpful to you that way. So if you can arrange to be in a space where you can be comfortable and close the eyes, that would be really wonderful. And your comfort is important because you want to be present. Ideally, you want to be present every moment of your life, but at the very least, could you be present now? That would be great. That would give you the best benefits. So in order to be present, it's helpful to be reasonably comfortable. If you're too uncomfortable, then it's going to stress you. It's going to draw your attention away from your presence. And instead, you're going to be thinking about stuff, thinking about how to get uncomfortable or uncomfortable to get comfortable again. So set yourself up for success. If you can close the door, turn off the ringer, that would be great. And then let your posture be supportive of you being comfortable. So if you can be upright and comfortable, that's optimal. But if you are uncomfortable when you're upright, then put yourself into a supported posture, like reclining or lying down, but preferably don't lie down on your bed, because if you do that, you're more likely to fall asleep. And falling asleep is nice and all, but it won't give you the same benefits. So if it's comfortable, close the eyes. And just notice that you're here. And notice that your presence, your existence is not something that you have to think about in order for it to be. So thinking is secondary. Thinking is fine. It's not a problem. But just notice that the thinking is secondary. Thinking depends upon your existence, your being. So being is the foundation. Being is here always unconditionally. You don't have to do anything to be. You don't have to think in order to be. You don't have to do the right things. You don't have to accomplish anything. You don't have to earn it. You simply are. And that's one of the greatest gifts of being, is that it truly is unconditional. So just notice that. Notice how powerful that is. And if your mind has any commentary on that, that's fine, but just notice that your being is before that commentary. So for a moment, allow yourself to actually rest in being, to actually rest here in this which precedes everything else. See if you can actually allow yourself that gift to yourself right now, just to take a moment to rest in being. And you might notice impulses arising in being, impulses of thought or action. And don't try and suppress any of it. It's all allowed, but just be aware of it. Just notice that it's all arising in the being that you are. And an amazing thing happens as you allow yourself just to be aware of it, is that you start to notice, or at least perhaps you will start to notice, that you truly do exist prior to all of those things, that you are, in a sense, we could say, superior to all of those things. You have this amazing power of being. So none of those things can overshadow you. None of those things can overtake you. The impulses are there, they rise and they fall, and you remain unchanging. So even though those things are there, even though change is taking place, without having to stop any of it, without having to fight with any of it, allowing all the change to be here, you might notice that you remain always unchanging. That's the incredible power of being. So hopefully you can have a sense of yourself as existence, as being, as awareness, as consciousness, whatever word we use, but that which is unchanging, that which is eternal. And so notice that directly, and see if you can find a boundary to yourself as being, as existence. Not a theoretical boundary, but an actual one. So look directly and see if it's possible to find an actual boundary to being. And please actually look in your direct experience. Feel around and see, can you find an end to being? And hopefully you notice that there is no boundary, that boundaries are ideas that arise in the infinity of being, in the boundlessness of being. So all things have their being in being. Being is the primary reality, which is boundless, it's infinite. Just notice that truth. Notice that you extend in all directions infinitely, that there's no limit. In fact, even that idea is false, because there's no space really. It's spaceless. So it's not about getting your mind's agreement on any of this. It's just about noticing this directly. So you don't have to think about any of it, just notice it. And then notice that in truth, You are this, and this is infinite. It is true abundance. It's limitless. So your true nature, your indestructible nature, your eternal nature is the truth of abundance. You are abundant. That is the truth. Just notice that. And wealth, the word wealth really means wholeness. So just notice that that is also true. You are abundant and whole. There's nothing missing. You are absolutely complete as being. So here, all I'm inviting you to at this point is just to notice this. It's not to translate that into anything else. So whatever your mind might do with it, don't worry about that. We'll get to that in a moment. For now, just notice what's being pointed out, what's being offered, which is to notice yourself as whole, complete, and abundant, infinite, boundless, eternal, free. Just notice that. And then notice that this is the source of all experience. So just be aware of all experience as it occurs. So all of the impulses of thought and of sensation are arising and falling within this infinite space of being. Be aware of that. Just observe that. See that that's true. See that it's impossible for there to be a thought outside of existence. It's impossible for there to be any sensation outside of existence, that all of the phenomena are occurring within existence, within the existence that you are. So this infinite being that you are, this infinite abundance, this wealth, this wholeness that you are really truly is complete, it really is whole. It contains within itself the totality of all that is, all that will be. It all exists here as potential, and then it bubbles up into experience, but that experience is still taking place within being, still taking place here within you. So all experience, which is to say all that you ever know, all that you think, feel, taste, touch, smell, hear, see, is occurring in and as this abundance and wholeness that you are. It's never separate. It all arises in this, it is this. So all wealth, all abundance is arising from this being that you are, and it remains only this. It's never separate. It never can be anything else. So all material substance is only this, appearing within being. So notice that that's a direct experience. It's not just a thought. So notice that the sound that is occurring within being right now, within awareness right now. Just notice that is actually true. So you're hearing sound, and that sound is occurring within you as your unconditional, infinite, abundant self. And notice that all sensation is occurring within you. So the mind has stories about it. The mind says it's outside, but the direct experience is that it's inside. It's right here, right now. It's all subjective. It's all phenomena arising subjectively within this infinite self. And so when you feel ready to transition to an open-eyed state, please do so slowly and remain aware of yourself as you do so. So just notice what's happening. And there's no hurry to do this, but when you do feel ready, make sure that you're opening the eyes slowly and be aware so that you can notice that what's actually happening is that there is additional visual stimulation occurring all within and as this same infinite field of being. So it's not separate. It's not something out there. It's still all in here. It's only one thing happening. So this is very important if you want optimal results, because I know that sometimes we think, oh, I just need these outer things. I just need the money. I just need the change in the relationship. I just need the change in my health. I just need whatever these things on the outside that I think I need. And it's very seductive. And we can use our power to manifest those changes. It's absolutely possible when you understand the basic laws that are governing reality, governing your experience, then it's certainly possible to make those changes. But if you make those changes without having the actual understanding of what's going on at a deeper level, then you're not really helping yourself out because, as they say, easy come, easy go. You can manifest the money, but if you haven't really understood the true source of the money, it's not really going to help you out. I understand, it might pay the bills for a short amount of time, but you'll still be suffering. And then the money will go, and then you'll manifest more money, and then the money will go, and then you'll manifest more money. Or maybe you'll just keep manifesting money, but it will never be enough. So, yes, having the outer expression is important to a certain extent. I'm not denying that. So it's important that you have obviously your basic needs met, and also that you're able to have adequate material supply in order to uh, express yourself authentically, to express your true gifts and to live on purpose. That's very important. So that's why this is about inner and outer abundance and wealth. It's not just inner. So I just want to be clear about that because I'm focusing primarily on the inner, but I also want to be clear that the outer will manifest. This is not just exclusively about the inner. Both are important, but I'm focusing primarily on the inner because the inner is the cause. And until you get that sorted out, then you'll never be satisfied with whatever you have on the outside. So if you're just looking for a quick fix, this is probably not it. Although it kind of is, but it's not just a quick fix. It's the whole enchilada, as it were. But if you're just looking for the quick fix, then well, you wouldn't be here still at this point, right? So hopefully I don't even have to clarify that because most people who are just looking for a quick fix, they've already checked out because they're like, what on earth? What is this? This isn't going to give me the money. So fortunately for you, you're now in a very good position to experience both the inner and the outer abundance. So in the first several meetings in this series, we explored some really important uh, topics and practices to establish for yourself a good foundation so that you can really cultivate and experience and manifest both inner and outer abundance and wealth. I just want to briefly review those things, and then we'll get on to the topic for today, which is going to take that much further. But that foundation is really important because, well, because it's the foundation. So I'll try to keep it brief. This is really just review and not meaning to go into a lot of depth on these topics because we did go into that in previous meetings, but just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So the first thing is to know that your true abundance is you, who you are, and that who you are is both that which is formless and it is a particular form. So you are that formless source of all creation. You are that pure potential, which we've touched upon today again. But then you are also a unique expression of that. And that's important because that means that as a unique expression, you have unique gifts, unique talents, unique desires for self-expression that must be fulfilled in order for you to satisfy the purpose of your life. And that is very, very, very important. That is the expression of the abundance that you are. And so like I said, I don't want to go into a lot of detail on depth on this because I've already covered it, but I do want to just make sure this is clear that if you are still in the mindset of, I just need to do stuff in order to get money. I just need to get a job to get money. I just need to sell stuff to get money. I just need to start my own business to get money. Then please do yourself a favor and review that key foundational step, because you will not, that getting the money on the outside is not an authentic expression of true abundance and wealth. If you're just chasing after the money, then actually that is an expression of poverty. And if you keep chasing after it that way, if you're acting out of fear and lack, then what do you expect to get more of other than more fear and lack? Whereas when you actually recognize your true inherent value and your gifts and your and the value that you are meant to express in this lifetime, then you're living from that abundance. So, so, so important. So that's where you need to be putting your attention. Now, please understand, I am not advising anybody to quit their day job. I'm not advising anybody to keep their day job. I'm not focusing on that at all because that's outer stuff. And that is superficial and it will take care of itself when you do the work to focus on the inner and get that sorted out. That's why I'm just emphasizing focus on your unique gifts, your purpose, your value, your unique expression, where you experience joy, authentic joy, where you're not thinking about how am I going to get money? How am I going to get what I perceive that I lack? Because that's just poverty. But when you're actually living from the abundance that's overflowing, your actual who you are is overflowing into the world. That's true abundance. So that's why I've encouraged a daily practice of focusing on that, because if you, whatever you put your attention on, that grows. So if you're not clear on that, and I know many people are, and that's great, and that's really wonderful, and you've taken great leaps in the right direction by having that clarity. But for those who are not, it's really, really important that you do that work. It's important for everybody, regardless of whether you've got that clarity or not. You have to keep putting attention on that every day, connecting with that authentic self-expression, your authentic gifts. So put attention on that every day. You don't have to do it for hours and hours and hours. Just at least put a few minutes of attention on that. Imagine it, feel it, and connect with it. Okay, so that's number one. Second thing is what I talked about last week and encouraged, which is to actually give, which can show up in many ways. If you're, and I don't think I emphasized this last week, so I'll just make this clear today. So that giving is not limited to financial giving. Okay. If you're wanting more money in your life, then giving financially is a pretty smart thing to do. But the giving does not have to be financial only, or nor does it have to be financial. Okay? The giving should be giving from your heart. That's the key component, is that you're giving from your heart something that you perceive is valuable to those who you perceive will benefit. So you're enhancing flow. Flow is a quality of abundance. Okay, that's really important. Abundance and flow are go together. You can't have one without the other. Nope, can't have one without the other. Okay, so flow and abundance go together. So you want to enhance flow in your life. So giving from the heart is how you enhance flow. It's one very powerful, important way to enhance flow. And as I said, if you want more money, then, or if you want better, uh, if you want to be able to maintain more money, then enhancing the flow financially is wise. So in that case, definitely giving financially is wise. It's not about how much, it's about it being from the heart, and it's about it being regular. So regular giving from the heart enhances flow. The more that you do that, the more that you will experience that abundance on the outside. So that's a review of what we covered in the first 2 weeks. So the truth is that that's if you were a clean, absolutely clean slate, and you did those two things, you would be experiencing that abundance and wealth on all levels, in a way that was deeply satisfying to you. That's the truth of that. That's how powerful that is. So most people still tend to make this big mistake of focusing on the details. So I'll just take one step. I'll take a moment to clarify something. And I say this to a lot of people one-on-one. So I might as well say it here so that I don't have to repeat myself so often. So the if I liken this to taking a journey. Okay, so if you view your life as kind of a journey, your life expression is like a journey, then if you're thinking about taking a journey, what's the number one most important thing that you need to know? And I'll answer the question, which is you need to know where you're going. You need to know what the destination is. Most people don't focus on that. At least if we view this as an analogy for life, how people approach their lives, most people are caught up in all kinds of other details, but they have no clue on the destination. They don't know where they're going at all. So imagine what it would be like if you were going to take a journey, but you had no idea where you're going. Instead, you were just focusing on how you're going to get there, your mode of transportation. You're just agonizing. Should we go by plane? Should we go by boat? Should we go by roller skating? How should we go? You could waste a whole lifetime agonizing over the mode of transportation, but it will do you absolutely no good because you don't know where you're going. And this is the kind of thing that most people, unfortunately, waste their lives on. They're wasting their lives on so much concern about how they're going to get somewhere. But if you don't know where you're going, how you're going to get there is useless. And conversely, when you know where you're going, in general, how presents itself and takes care of itself, right? So if you're going to take a trip, if your journey involves going next door, then most likely you're going to walk. You're not going to take a plane. That just becomes obvious because of the nature of where you're going relative to where you are. On the other hand, if where you're going is overseas, then walking is probably, unless you're, Jesus, probably is not going to be your mode of transportation. So, like I say, the details of the how tend to present themselves and clarify themselves once you know where you're going. But most people tend to focus on a lot of the how instead of the what. So that's why I recommend you just focus on what until you have absolute clarity about it. Until you have that clarity, you're wasting your time to put your attention on other stuff. And I understand the challenge of that because we've been trained to keep putting our attention on all the other stuff. Shouldn't I get a job? Shouldn't I, shouldn't I further my education? Shouldn't I do this? Shouldn't I do that? How do you know? Unless you know where you're going. Like imagine if you know about Ramana Maharshi. If you don't know about Ramana Maharshi, then this what I'm about to explain to you won't make any sense to you. But if you know of Ramana Maharshi, this will make sense. If not, then let's say Jesus. Okay, but I'll use Jesus. It's more universal. More people will know about Jesus. Some people might, but if you don't, I don't know where you've been. So imagine uh, if Jesus if would it make sense to advise Jesus to say, Jesus, I'm thinking that maybe you should get a master's degree. No, it doesn't make any sense at all. It would be ludicrous. Jesus, have you considered that your footwear is not fashionable and you should really be focused on that? It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Why? Because it's not in alignment with the life purpose. But again, most of the time we're so short-sighted, we're not actually thinking about where we want to go. We're not thinking about the destination. We're not thinking about the goal, the end result. We're thinking just about how. But how depends entirely on what. If you don't know what your aim is, then how is not useful to you. I'm repeating myself, so I'll stop. But hopefully that is very clear because it's so important. Okay. So now, as I say, if you are focused just on you want, just on the goal, just on that end result, if you're getting crystal clear on that, and you are enhancing flow in your life, then as I say, if you were a clean slate, if there was nothing else there to interfere with that, then that's all you need. I'm just wanting to be clear about that so that you can understand the power of it and you can keep things simple. So you don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to have all kinds of techniques. All you need to do is just focus on what your life's purpose is, what your joy, what your gifts, what your unique self-expression is, because that's what you should be doing. I'm not saying you should be doing that for money. Just want to be really clear about that. I'm saying that's what you should be doing. The money is not something that you should be getting transactionally. The money is something that naturally, if as needed, appears to you. And I know that's a thing that people really have some difficulty wrapping their heads around, but the money does not come when things are put in their right order, when things are healthy. Money does not come transactionally because you've sold yourself or sold something. I do understand that when things are out of order, which is the current state of things for most people in this world, when things are out of order, that's how things work, is that you sell yourself or sell something and you get money transactionally. But just look and see, that's not satisfying to you. That's not actually what you want. But people keep doing that because that's the only model that's been presented to them. Even though it's not working, it's not satisfying. In fact, it's deeply unsatisfying. People just keep repeating it and they keep advising others to keep doing the same thing. Right? Just notice that. That's what's going on is most people are advising everybody else to do the very thing that's not working. But people are afraid not to keep doing that. So when things are in proper order, then the money is not coming transactionally because you've sold something or sold yourself. When things are in proper order, then the money is manifest from within, naturally, effortlessly, as it's needed in order to support the natural self-expression. That's the truth. And when you actually start to experience that, you'll see that that is absolutely completely true. So the how of the details of how the money, the steps by which the money appears to you is not your business, and you shouldn't concern yourself with it, because the money will manifest to support whatever is needed. And it will manifest however it needs to manifest that you can accept. I've said this many times, I'll say it again. The check can just arrive in the mail. You don't have to know how it got there. It's not your business. It happens all the time. Checks arrive in the mail and people didn't know that they were going to get that check. It happens. If it's not happening for you, then you need to change things in what you're doing, prioritize things in the right way, get things in the right order, and then it will start to happen for you. Or better yet, the money just appears in your bank account. It's none of your business how it got there. You don't care. Because you don't actually, that's not what you want to be focused on. You don't want to be focused on how is the money getting to me? Unless that's really what you want to be focused on, unless that's your purpose in life. But I'm pretty sure it's not. That's why I'm saying you should be putting your attention on what you're here for. Then when you get things in the right order, the money will appear, because the money is manifest from within. All things are manifest from within, which is the purpose of the guided practice, is so that you can understand that and have direct experience of that. So, so then I'm going to repeat myself again, and then I'll hopefully move on. So if you were a clean slate and you didn't have anything interfering, then if all you did was focus, got crystal clear on what your purpose is, what your gifts are, what your joy is, what your unique, authentic self-expression is, you just focused on that, and you enhanced flow in your life by giving from your heart regularly, then you would be living and expressing and manifesting total abundance and wealth at all levels completely. That's the truth. Okay, so then most of us are not a clean slate, because most of us are holding on to baggage, right? Most of us are holding on to lots of conditioning. So that's the thing that I want to focus on today with the 18 minutes remaining, or however much. I'll probably go, we'll see. Maybe go a little bit over, but not a lot. But with the time remaining, I want to focus on that, because this is the other half of the equation. I just want to, one more time before I move on to that, I just want to make sure, because I know somebody's going to miss this. Somebody's going to totally miss this, which I've already said repeatedly, but it's so important. I just want to say it one more time, that you are here to be yourself. You are not here to be focused on lack. If you're focused on how you're going to get the money by selling yourself or selling something, then you are focused on lack, you're missing the point, and you're not fulfilling your purpose in life. You will thereby be dissatisfied, and until you get that straightened out, you'll continue to be dissatisfied. So you owe it to yourself to do yourself this favor and just accept and see the truth of what I've pointed out. You're here to be yourself. You are here to be yourself. You're not here to eke out an existence. You're not here to survive. Nobody's going to get a prize for surviving. I promise you, nobody, and definitely not you. You're not going to get a prize for surviving. Not going to happen. It's not like you're going to, they're like, congratulations, you made it to age 110. Here's your prize. It won't happen that way. It does not matter if you live for 5 years, 50 years, 500 years, 5,000 years, no matter how long you live, the number is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is, are you yourself? Are you actually 100% authentically, completely yourself, fulfilling your unique self-expression? That's the only thing that matters. Only thing. So that's what you should be focused on. Now, as I say, then why? So I know some people are saying, okay, but I am doing that, and still show me the money. I hear you. I understand. That's why I'm going to talk about the thing that I'm going to talk about for the remaining time today, because this is the other half of the equation. So but I had to focus, I had to be clear about the other stuff because otherwise 90% of the people, 99% of the people won't get all the full benefits because it's so important to understand that you're here to be yourself, not anything else. It's not about how much it's not about anything else. It's not about how much you've acquired, how many people you've impressed, how much you've impressed them, how much power you have, how much money you have. None of those things matter. It's only about if you are authentically yourself completely. It's the only purpose. It's the only reason. So if you're not focused on that, you're completely missing the point. So that's why I'm suggesting every day focus on that. Okay, now, to the degree that you have no interference with that, then you are expressing yourself completely, you're fulfilling your purpose, and you're living complete wealth and abundance at all levels, inner and outer. So then if you're not experiencing that abundance both inwardly and outwardly, it's because you have interference. You have conditioning, which interferes with the full, free expression of that truth at all levels. So we exist as multidimensional beings. In case you didn't know that, I'm pointing that out. So just notice you are a multidimensional being. What does that mean? Okay. So you say, well, most people identify largely with their body. Okay. So most people will think if you say, who are you? They'll say this one. Okay. So the physical body is one level of your existence. But you're clearly not limited to your physical body. I'm not saying that your physical body is not a component of yourself. So just want to be clear about that because some people like to think in black and white terms. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you're not limited to your physical body. Your physical body is not the exclusive definition of you. So what are some other aspects of yourself? Well, you think, right? So your thinking is another level of your existence. You feel, your feeling is another level of your existence. See how this works? So you have many levels of your existence. And we could stratify that in lots of different ways if we wanted. So I'm not going to present to you that there's one way to do it and it's the definitive way. You're free to do that however you want, but just I'm pointing out that you have many dimensions, many levels to your existence. And we could say that if just one way to describe it, because at the highest level or at the grandest level, the most complete level, I could say that there is a pure self. There is a self that is an independent self, and all the other aspects of yourself are dependent upon that. And we could call that self by many names. We could call it a self with a capital S. We could call it a soul, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter because it's not the name. But just notice that when you touch upon yourself, independent of all of the conditions, that is an independent self. And everything else depends upon that. So we could call that awareness. We could call it consciousness. But just notice that without that, none of the other levels exist. So that's, or we could call it existence, right? So existence is the foundation upon which everything else depends. But it doesn't work the other way around, right? The conditionality is one way, not the other way, meaning that existence does not depend upon a body, but the body depends upon existence. So that's the kind of the structure. So what I'm getting at is there's a structure to it. And I'm not going to go into detail trying to describe exactly what that structure is, but I'm just pointing out that there is a structure to your existence, and that we could say hierarchical, that there's a kind of sequence of dependency, and that existence is the primary reality, and everything else is dependent upon that. So everything else emerges from that. So if you, and I talked about this last week, I think I talked about it last week in terms of that there's There's the unmanifest, which would be exist. We'll call that existence. And then there's the manifest. And there's a relationship between the unmanifest and the manifest. But then within the manifest, there's also a structure in which that creation becomes increasingly solidified. So, because if you think about it, if you have a thought that says, I have $1 million, just to keep it about money. Okay. So if you have a thought that says, I have $1 million, well, uh, that's part of the creation. But most of us wouldn't consider it to be complete at that level. Most of us would have to actually have a sense, there'd have to be more to it, right? So we'd have to actually then be able to see it, and we'd have to feel it. We'd have to have a sense that there's some feeling to it, not just necessarily a tactile sense, but a felt sense of reality to it, a feeling that, yes, I really do have it. It really does exist. It's mine. I have confidence in it. Tactile sense could also help support that. And then at a certain point, it becomes solidified to the point where we say, yeah, that's absolutely real. So in order for us to have confidence in something, usually we want it to be manifest at all levels. Now, as I pointed out I think I pointed out last week, I say things so many times in so many different meetings, I don't remember when I say what, but I think I said this last week, at least at some point, that the most powerful way to create is to just remain at that level of that sort of membrane between the unmanifest and the manifest, and where you just, all that's necessary is just this initial impulse of a thought. It doesn't even have to be fully formed into a thought, but just the initial impulse of a thought, and to just remain there and know that it is so. That's the most powerful, because there's no interference, there's no fear, there's no lack, there's absolute abundance. So it's very, very powerful. But most of us are not confident enough to remain there. And so we need to learn to work with the other levels, which is what I'm going to look at a little bit today. So, but the point here is that when we create, we normally create through each of these levels. So we have the thought, we have the image, we have the feeling, and then at a certain point we say it's real. Now, that's the creative phase. So we have the initial creation, then it's sustained. We say, yes, here there's substance, there's sustenance to it, it's real. And then there's this destructive phase in which it again merges back with the source, with the unmanifest, with the formless. So what I want to take a look at today is how we can consciously work with that destructive phase to our benefit. Why would we want to do that? Because if you've kind of pieced together what I've said so far, once you have clarity on what you want, when you know who you are, what you want, what your purpose is, what your gifts are, what your joy is, then that's what you're here to create and express. So at that level, it's already so, but now why you say, but I don't seem to be experiencing it. I'm not perceiving it. It doesn't seem to be happening outwardly. Okay, well, let's piece it together. Why would that be? Because, as I've already said, there's something already manifest that's interfering with it. Hopefully that makes sense. You've already got stuff manifest in the form of certain conditioning or conditions that is in opposition to what you want. So thereby, you want to know how to work intelligently with the destructive phase so that you can remove that which is already there, which is interfering with what you want. It's just like, there's something occupying that space. You want to put something there, but there's already something there. You have to remove that so that you can put what you want there. What is it that's there? It's that conditioning or the conditions. How did that get there? Well, because it was created. So it was created in the past through the same sequence, right? So there was some thought, and there were some images, and there was some feeling, and that all combined, solidified, and then you say it's real. And then that keeps repeating over and over and over and over and over. It's occupying that space. It keeps getting the energy. So it's being sustained in that space. So you want to replace that. So, maybe what that's looking like right now is that your life is has this big space occupied by a sense of lack and all the activities of lack, chasing after money, feeling a concern about how you're going to pay your bills, things like that. So that's there. It's created as a condition or conditioning. It exists in that space. You want to replace that with the expression of abundance. So you have to consciously, intelligently destroy that old creation, which is not what you want, so that you can replace it with what you do want. Because otherwise, it's a very slow process if you're just trying to add what you do want, but there's something there that's blocking it. So it's much quicker if you remove that. Then it's super easy for you to put in place what you do want. You'll be surprised at how fast it can happen. So we have this condition, or conditioning, that's there. And it shows up however it shows up. It shows up as feelings. Primarily, I'm going to break it down for you. The most important ingredients are the thought, the feeling, and that's it. The images are also of some importance. It depends on the individuals. For some individuals, the images are more important. For some, they're less important. But it's really the feeling and the thought are the most important. Because all of your experiences, all of the created stuff, it still depends. They're still constructed of the thoughts, the feelings, and the images. For some people, the other sensory components are also factors, but usually less so. So sometimes the sense of smell, taste, and hearing can be significant factors in the creation. But for most of us, it's primarily the thought and the feeling, and then to some degree, the images. And so usually it's easiest just to work with those components. If the other ones are important, you can work with them in the same way that I'll describe. But I'll mostly just be talking about the thoughts, the feelings, and the images. So if you notice, that's what you experience. You're experiencing thoughts, feelings, images, and then the other stuff to a lesser degree, usually. That's how you perceive that something exists, is through those faculties. So the actual substance of the thing is only that. So the conditions and the conditioning exist only, are comprised only of those things: the thought, the image, and the sensation, or the feeling. So if we want to remove it or destroy it, then we want to cause it to decompose. So right now it's composed. So those components are attached to one another. They're associated, which gives a sense of substance to it, a sense that it's real, that it exists. Because if you think about it, if you didn't have any feeling, if you didn't have any sense of feeling whatsoever, and all you were experiencing were thoughts and images, then you would not sense that this was real. Hopefully that makes sense to you, right? Just imagine for a moment how weird that would be if you didn't have any feeling at all. So you're hearing what's being said, you're seeing it, and you can understand the thoughts, but you don't have any feeling. None of this would seem real to you, or at least it would seem much less real. It's only when the feeling is combined with the things. So it's when all of those individual components come together in a composition that we say, this is real. So our experience, our so-called reality, our outer experience just consists of those things when they come together. And when they do that over and over and over and over and over, it seems very, very real to us. But that's all it ever consists of, is those things. So the destructive phase is just simply to take them apart, decompose them, so that we can actually start to perceive them as those separate things. So we can start to perceive it's just a thought, and it's just a feeling, and it's just images, but they don't actually go together. So in order to do this, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you the meta technique, as it were, and then I'll guide you through two techniques that you can use. So the meta technique, which I've already kind of described, is that you want to bring to conscious awareness the condition or conditioning. So the thing that you want to remove, the thing that you want to let go of, the thing that's interfering. And then you want to put your attention on it in such a way that you want to intensify it so that you're really fully aware of it consciously. And then you want to let go. And by letting go, I don't mean getting rid of. I don't mean trying to fight with it or deny it. I mean, you just let go of the attachment, the charge that you have with it. It's like you're just dropping it. And I'll explain in a moment why this is important and how it works. But that's it. You repeat that process with whatever the thing is, and it will decompose. So if usually you have to repeat that numerous times with whatever the thing is, but when you repeat that numerous times, each time it's decomposing a bit more, and then eventually it reaches a certain threshold where it has fallen apart, and you'll no longer perceive it as real, and then that space has been freed, and you can create consciously and put whatever you want there. So that's the meta process, as it were, and then I'm going to break this down and give it to you in specifics so that you can make use of this in practical terms, because I don't expect that what I just told you is going to actually make a lot of sense to you, but I just want to give you the background so that you can hopefully understand then how this works. So I'll take one more step back and just explain again at another level how it's working. So we form this conditioning within ourselves through experience. So you can understand that however you want. You can understand that in terms of past lives. You can understand it in terms of early childhood experiences, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But the point is, at some point, we established for ourselves an experience that we said that's real. And so what did that experience consist of? Well, hopefully you're following. It consisted of the thoughts, the images, and the feelings, plus the other senses to a lesser degree. So, but we put them together in that moment in what we now call a memory. And we said, that's a real thing. It has substance to it now. And so that then has been repeating over and over and over and over and over and over. Now, why does it repeat? Well, it repeats because it's unresolved for us. We're trying to work it out. There's something there that we're trying to understand or figure out or work out or resolve. And so we keep recreating that in our lives using different ingredients, different characters, different scenarios, but the same basic thing is playing out over and over and over and over because we're wanting to work that out for ourselves. We want to learn whatever we need to learn there or resolve that. We want to let it go. We want to process it. So we keep repeating it. But what happens most of the time is that we're unconscious. And so we don't actually offer ourselves an opportunity to learn. And when I say unconscious, what I mean is that we actually get overtaken by the emotional charge. And so instead of being present so that we can learn something or see something new or release something, we just play out the same drama, which reinforces that it is problematic, that there's something there that's still unresolved, that we still need to learn, and thereby that same basic conditioning is stored again so that it can be reactivated later so that we can again try again to figure it out. This is why you just keep repeating the same stuff over and over and over and over. And this is why it's as cliche as it is. You can trace all the stuff back to mommy and daddy, or if it's not mommy and daddy, it's something else at a very formative level in this life or past lives. So we learn these things, we repeat them over and over and over with the hope, although it's largely unconscious, but with the hope that we can resolve it. That's why we keep repeating it. But because we go unconscious, which is to say we're overtaken by the emotional charge, we just play out the same drama which then reinforces that we haven't figured it out and that it's still a problem, still a threat. Thereby, we still have to figure it out. So we'll just store that same conditioning so that we can try again later. And so here, what I'm proposing is that we can actually use, when we understand the everything that I've just said, hopefully I said it somewhat clearly, then we have all the knowledge that we need in order to be able to use the destructive phase of creation or of reality intelligently in order to help ourselves out. Because that's basically all we want to do is we want to say, okay, got it. Now I'm done, right? Like I had the experience, learned whatever needed to be learned, saw whatever needed to be seen, done. Let it go. That's all that's required. That's actually all that we need. We just need to be able to see that, okay, got it, done, let it go. But because we usually go unconscious because of the emotional charge, we're still perceiving at a very primitive level that it's a threat. Thereby, we have to keep playing it out. We have to keep remembering it. So, and think about this. In your life, you don't remember 99+% of the stuff that happens. Just think about that for a second. You don't remember, and I'm not even talking about like in your early childhood. I'm talking about yesterday. You don't remember most of what happened yesterday. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just because that's basically how it should be. You only remember most stuff because it's what we would call traumatic, because your nervous system determined that it's problematic, it's a threat. And so you're holding on to it so that you can resolve it. But as I've described, what happens is you don't resolve it because the emotional charge takes you over. And so thereby you keep perceiving that it's still a threat. So in order to resolve it, you need to consciously put yourself into that situation. So you can do this in real time, but it's actually easier to do with stuff from the so-called past. And that's what I'm going to walk you through, how you can do this. Because you can get clear really fast by just going through the stuff from the past that still has an emotional charge. So I recommend that you make a list of all your memories that have an emotional charge, negative emotional charge primarily. And then you can just use this process that I'm going to describe to you with all of the memories on your list one at a time. And as you do that, you'll start to clear them. So you'll be removing the emotional charge in them. And then you will no longer be trying to resolve them because they will be resolved. And thereby that space will not be occupied by that conditioning. And thereby it will be free so that you can start to put in place what you want. Hopefully that's clear. So the basic process is this. So you have your list of the problematic memories. Then just take one at a time. So you put yourself into that memory, remember it, and try to work up as strong of an emotional charge as you can. And notice how you do it. So there's certain elements of that memory that you have to focus on in order to get that emotional charge. Try to get this strong of an emotional charge as you can. And then as soon as you've done that, then just drop it. So you can just open your eyes, look around the room, and just let go. Just say, I let go. I'm safe. So I often point it out like this. I say, look, well, there are two things going on here. So number one, most of the time we try to avoid those things that we perceive as threats. But when you consciously put yourself into something, then you're putting yourself in a position of power. Instead of being on the defensive, instead of being fearful, trying to avoid, you actually are choosing it. So it's a totally different thing when you choose it. So it's really, really powerful to choose to remember the thing consciously. That's the number one thing here is that you're choosing it. So that automatically is changing things for you when you're choosing it. And you're not just choosing it sort of like, oh, maybe I'll kind of remember it a little bit. You're saying, no, I'm going to provoke it. I'm going to remember it and I'm going to put myself right into it and with the maximum emotional charge. So you're automatically, by doing that, you're signaling to your nervous system that you're safe. Even if you feel uncomfortable, you're still saying, yeah, but I'm safe. I'm doing this, which you should know, by the way, it's just a memory. So you are safe. Hopefully that's clear, right? A memory cannot hurt you. You can hurt yourself by trying to avoid the memory, but the memory can't hurt you. So by choosing to remember it and put yourself into it with the provoking the maximum charge that you can, you're automatically changing things. That's the first thing. Second thing is this, that think about this. If there was a crocodile in the room with you right now, would you be looking at the screen right now? And almost certainly the answer is no, you would not be looking at the screen. You'd be looking at the crocodile. Why? Because you perceive that the crocodile is a threat. So we tend to keep looking at the thing that we perceive as a threat. This is why we obsess over things that, we're like, this thing is bothering me. I can't stop thinking about it. Well, that's why you can't stop thinking about it. But here, what you're doing is you're choosing to drop it. It's so simple, but it's really, really effective, because when you drop it, you're telling the truth, which is it's not a threat. You, on some level, you already know that. Why? Because it's just a memory. You know it's not a threat, but you haven't actually given your nervous system that information clearly enough yet. That's why your nervous system is just trying over and over and over to deal with it. So you have to choose to give it that information. How? Just by dropping it, just for a second. You don't have to fight with it. You don't have to get rid of it. Just for a second, drop it, put your attention on something else. So I recommend choose to drop it. But even if you can't choose to drop it, at the very least, then you could just choose to put your attention on something else. So I suggest then you just ask yourself some kind of trivia question, like, what is the capital city of Venezuela? It doesn't matter if you know what the answer to that is. You just ask yourself a question like it. What is the tallest mountain in Bolivia? Who cares? You know it, you don't know it. It doesn't matter. You're just asking yourself something just to redirect your attention. Why? Because there's no crocodile in the room. And you have to show your nervous system that that's true, that you can put your attention somewhere else, that you can drop it. So that's all you do. You choose the memory, you put your attention on it, you remember it, provoke it as strongly as you can, then hold that for a few seconds, and notice how you do it. Notice what you're doing to provoke that, what you're focusing on, and then drop it. Just look around the room, so if you're remembering it with your eyes closed, open your eyes, look around the room, and just drop it. Just choose, I'm just dropping it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to focus on it. And you can just focus on something else for a second. Then come back to it. Think about the memory again, provoke it as strongly as you can. You can't do it the same way twice, because it changes each time. So each time you do this, something is getting released because of what I've just described to you. It has to happen. It's not a question of will it or will it not. It will. Each time you do it, something is being released. But each time you do it, you'll find that you have to do something different. You have to focus on something different or do something else to provoke a charge in it. So if the first time you focus on it on a scale from 1 to 10, you can feel the charge at an 8. Notice what you're focused on in order to do that. The second time you do it, you probably, in general, it's not always this way, but in general, most of the time, the second time you do it, you won't initially get the same charge on it. It will be, if it was an 8 the first time, it will be a 4 the second time. Like I say, not always, because sometimes we'll automatically go to other things. But then you should try and provoke it as strongly as you can, and notice how you do that. I guarantee you have to focus on other things, other elements of that memory. Certain other key things you'll have to focus on them, whether it's what somebody said or an expression on somebody's face or a different point in the memory, something else you'll have to do in order to provoke a stronger charge, which is great, because that means then this time when you do it, that stuff's being released. Those associations are being released. So it's being decomposed. All of the little bits and pieces that were all giving it a sense of reality are now being dissociated from one another. Keep repeating that process until you cannot provoke a charge on it. Then you're free. If you have any doubts about your ability to do this on your own, then I recommend that you schedule a session with me so that I can do it with you. But it, you can do it on your own. It's very safe. It's just, I mean, unless, like I said, if you have doubts about your ability to do it on your own, then schedule a session with me. But at least most people will be able to do it for sure. Will have should have confidence that they can do it on their own. Everybody can do it on their own, but if you have doubts about that, do it. Schedule a session with me. But it's very, very, very effective. So that's the one thing that I recommend. Okay, so just make a list of the troublesome memories that you have, and do this process systematically, day by day, to remove the charge on them. Just an important point. You're not trying to avoid anything. You're actually trying to provoke it and then dropping it. That's it. You're just provoking and then dropping, not getting rid of, not fighting with it, just provoking and dropping, provoking, dropping, provoking, dropping. So when you do that, following the instructions, it absolutely works. No, like I say, it's not a question of will it work or will it not. It does work. So as long as you do it following those instructions, it works. When you do that systematically, day by day, clearing all the charges and all the troublesome beliefs, memories, you become free. That space becomes freed up so that you can create in that space what you want. Second thing, based on the same premise, is when you're doing the practice each day, to focus on what you want, which is to say your authentic self-expression, joyful self-expression, expressing through your unique, authentic gifts, your purpose in life. Notice what limiting beliefs come up and make a list of them. So your brain is going to try to translate that into an outer reality. You shouldn't try to do that. You should just be focused on doing that in your imagination. Just focus in your imagination. I am, I have, this is. But then your brain at some point is going to say, yeah, but how? I can't. It's too hard. I'm too stupid. I'm too ugly. I'm not enough. I don't know the right people, yada, 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 whatever. Make a list of those limiting beliefs, because that's just more of the conditioning. So then two ways that you can process those. So you're basically just wanting to do the same thing where you remove the charge on those. So day by day, go through your list of beliefs as well, and you're going to release them. So one very simple, very direct way that you can do it is you just read a belief on your list. Ask yourself if you actually want to keep that belief. And if you're ready to let it go, then just choose to let it go and practice letting go within yourself. If you do that, if you repeat that, you will let it go. So that's one way to do it. Second way that you can do it, I'm just giving you options so that you have options you can work with. Second option you have there, I mean, you have many options, but I'm proposing two things. If you feel like that's not sufficient for you for whatever reason, the first option that I gave to you, then what you can do with the belief is you can solicit or elicit the formative memories associated with it, and then use the first process that I described to you. So the way that works is you read the belief on your list, feel the feeling of that. Okay, so notice the feeling and ask yourself, when is the first time I can remember feeling this feeling? It doesn't have to be the first time you ever felt the feeling. It's just the first time you can remember feeling it. Right? I point that out because sometimes people are like, I don't know when the first time I felt the feeling was. Okay, doesn't matter. Just the first time you can remember. So maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was 10 years ago, maybe it was when you're 2 years old. The first time you can remember feeling that feeling, that's it. That's the memory. Use the same process that I described a moment ago with memories on that memory. It will release the charge. And most likely that will release that belief. If it doesn't, then you'll just repeat that until you've cleared sufficient memories associated with that belief, and then it will eventually drop. So that's it. If you want the most streamlined, effective method that I'm aware of, at least, to manifest inner and outer abundance, I'm going to break it down again for you. So 3 things. Number 1, every day, focus in your imagination on your authentic self-expression, your unique gifts, your joyful self. If you don't know what that is, then all the more reason why you should be doing that every day. But even if you do know what that is, you should be doing that every day. So just in your imagination, take a few minutes every day to focus on your authentic, joyful self-expression, you living your purpose, expressing your unique gifts joyfully. Hopefully that's clear. Second thing, give from the heart regularly to enhance flow in your life. Third thing is regularly, consistently, day after day, clear all the stuff that has negative emotional charges. So the memories that have negative emotional charges and any limiting beliefs that you have. Just take a few minutes every day to release those things. You don't have to release all of them tonight. Just focus on doing a little bit each day, because then day by day, you're getting clearer and freer. And so then that space in your manifest life is freed up. And naturally, what the first two steps that you're taking are going to occupy that space. And the last thing I'll say before wrapping it up here is, remember, very, very, very important point, which I've already said, that if you're still thinking in terms of I've got to sell myself or sell stuff in order to get money, then you really owe it to yourself to consistently question that, as I've pointed out, until you get clear that that's insane. That you will never be happy with that is an absolute waste of your life. And I'm not encouraging anybody to quit their day job or to get a day job. If you don't focus on that. So if you have a day job, whatever, keep your day job or don't. But please don't think that I'm telling you one way or the other. I'm saying focus on the inner. Get clear on the fact that the money is actually manifest from the inside, according to your belief. And that if you believe that the only way that you can get money is to sell yourself or sell stuff, then that's what you're doing. And thereby you're having that experience, and you're not experiencing satisfaction or fulfillment because you're not focused on what you should be focused on. So just see that that's true, and instead start to put your attention where you should be putting your attention, which is in your imagination, fulfilling your actual purpose, fulfilling by expressing your unique gifts and your joy in this life. And if you do that consistently, it has to start to manifest on all levels, especially if you do the work consistently day after day to remove the stuff that's interfering. So that's it. If you do that, I promise you, you will get results, because it's not based on theory. It's not based on ideas. It's actually based on how things work. And it's as simple and streamlined as I can make it. So I promise you that you will get results. Somebody posted a comment on one of the videos asking everybody else, has anybody else done this? Is it working? Here's my invitation. Try it out. Because it's so simple. It's just a few minutes a day. Well, okay, the truth is it becomes all day, every day, but not because you're forcing yourself. If you just consciously apply yourself a few minutes every day, then you will see the results, and it will start to translate into everything else in your life. I saw the comment, and I will respond to that in the group coaching. So for now, I'm done talking for a moment. Well, sort of almost done talking for a moment. So I'm going to wrap up this video. And so for everybody, including those who are on YouTube, thank you very much for your time and your presence. Blessings to you. And if you are interested in participating in these calls, in these meetings live, you're welcome to do so. You can get that information by signing up to my newsletter on my website, which is joylot.com. There'll be a link in the description on YouTube. And I'm still offering free introductory coaching calls. If you're interested in that, you can get more information and sign up going to joylot.com/intro, INTRO, also a link in the description. And for those who are interested in a systematic, simple approach to establishing a daily routine that will support you in all of this and more, you may be interested in the Manifesting Truth program. It is a paid program. You can find out more about that at my website. I'll provide a link in the description below. That's it for now. Thank you, everybody. Blessings to all. I'm going to end this recording now.